Hey everybody, how's everybody doing? Apologize for that. We just had a little bit of technical difficulty, and I'm entirely to blame for that. So don't blame Jimmy; it was all my fault. So, anyways, welcome to the show. Wanted to have Jimmy on for a long time. He's a phenomenal guitar player. He's well known to the community, and what's great about Jimmy is uh, his Sunday afternoon shows, which are just fantastic, where he does a lot of jamming and he has a lot of interaction with the folks and he's just a phenomenal player and a really good guy. So very pleased to have Jimmy on the show tonight. And without further ado, all right, we are starting from scratch.
Yes, we are. Hack, how's
Well,
it going, man?
hey, I'm doing okay. Well, people don't realize we've been doing the show for 17 minutes and have not realized that we're doing the show for ourselves. We don't
Yes.
need an audience. We
I
don't
mean,
need live.
we've been just carrying on. It's been great. I mean, yeah, we went through.
Oh dear Lord.
I'm over the nerves. You can tell that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's whatever. I'm fine.
I can see you, dudes.
Yeah. Welcome everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We got 37 people in here right now, and I'm just gonna do a real quick hello to everyone because oh my god, we got a lot of comments. So Meryl J, welcome. Terry Himes, 2019 Chaos. Thanks so much for watching my stuff. Appreciate that. Jack the Rabbit, Dwight Bailey, Mark Wade, Henstock Harem. What's up, Doc? I'm going down real quick. Paul Lewis here. Brian Landreth. I'm just going down. Daniel Horsley, welcome. Joe Hervey, 84. How are you? Meryl J. Mitch Heyman, nice to see you. Okay, just going down real quick. Six String Brian, welcome. Padded Pedal Room, how are you? Alan Robinson, how's it going? Yeah, we're basically doing a complete restart here, so I thought I'd call these names out earlier, but I'll do it again. Fruitcake Tony's here. Oh God, I'm an amateur. I'm not only a guitar hack, but I'm a live show hack. There you go. Dear Lord. Waleed is here. Hey, Waleed. The Mighty Pork Chop. How's it going? Nice to see you. Here's a new name. Tim Seymour is here. Just going down real quick. See if I missed anyone. Jeff Miller, welcome. Probably repeating names, but that's okay. Marco's Images, how are you? Okay, just going down real quick. James Severin, how's it going? Metal Soda, hey Metal Soda, how are you, man? Nice to see you. All right. There's Julie Horsley. Welcome. Dan in New Jersey. Nice to see you. Gary Holt. Cool. Charlie S. How are you? Hope everybody's doing well and having a. Ivan Carter. Welcome. Sandra Picorni. Janice. How are you? Hope everybody's doing well and having a great Thursday. And almost at the weekend. So there you go. All right. Blackjack Guitar Nut. How's it going? All right, let's start at the beginning. So, Jimmy, these are all the same questions I just asked. That's them again.
Sorry, I think I have my answers down pat now. So.
You're all rehearsed now. Okay, so Jimmy, what got you started into guitar or playing music?
Well, back in '84, when I was about 12 years old, let me go back further. I actually come from a musical family, and my grandfather was a famous trumpet player. He was Wingy Minone, and the one-armed Dixieland trumpet player. And
physically, he had one arm. He lost
his arm in a streetcar accident. In
wow.
Queens, that's where he's from. They used to do a thing where the streetcars at a particular time of the day would come through like this, and they'd play chicken and see who could get through it on their bikes, and it didn't work out so well for him.
Oh shit!
Yeah, wow. He used to play the cornet, which I guess is actually a heavier horn, and because of the fact that he ended up with one arm, he ended up moving over to the trumpet and actually having to relearn it with his non-dominant hand.
Right.
But he wrote hits. He wrote the biggest one, which became a hit, was Tar Paper Stomp, which became In the Mood by Glenn Miller. And
Yeah.
but that wasn't the way he did it. He did it old Dixieland styles. That was
right
back in the day. And
right.
but I think he took like a lump sum payment. So here I sit in a much smaller room because of that, but that's okay. So
Yeah.
but he so and then my father followed in his footsteps, and he was a fantastic drummer. He played on the Las Vegas Strip throughout the 70s and toured, played with all sorts of big names. And in the 80s, he was playing in a bar band. He had moved over to piano by this time, and he was, he played everything, but he was playing in this like basically rock-based bar band. And their guitar player was there, and he's like, "Hey, you want to try this out, right?" They're like in between songs, and he had his guitar plugged in, and I'm like, "Great." He's like, "Yeah, you're the only one sitting there. You want to try this out?" I'm like, "Yeah." And that was the big moment for me with guitar, was because of the fact that I was so fascinated. When I hit the strings, the fact that the sound didn't come out of the guitar, it actually came out of another part of the room. And I'm like, "Why can't I hear it here?" And he goes, "Well, it's coming out of an amplifier." And it just blew my mind. And it's probably one of the most powerful things I've ever experienced. And that's really what got me into the guitar.
Wow.
Initially.
Right.
Fascination.
So the first guitar, so I imagine at that point you would have been sort of on your folks, "Hey, I really like this. I want to play."
Yeah,
We can start now, by the way.
yeah, right. Hey, I got the whole can here, so if you need more brews,
There you go.
Yeah, Hack was telling me, he's like, "I can't really start the show officially until I get my Tim Hortons." So,
And that's why I delayed it. It was intentional.
I had to make sure the Tim Hortons rolled in. So
That's right. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. All right.
You got. I'll back you up, man.
There you go. All right. So what did you get first?
So the first guitar I got, I finally talked my folks into getting me a guitar. However, it was a $5 K acoustic at a swap meet, and of course, you have the sound hole, and somebody, previous owner or something, must have punched a hole in it, because the other hole was bigger than the sound hole itself. I had 2 strings on it, but I played that thing to death, and formed a little band. And I had my drummer who played on boxes and stuff. He actually played really well, but he played on boxes, and we held backyard concerts playing the same song over and over, because it's all we had. So it was one song that I wrote, and so yeah, for an hour and a half, they get to hear the same progression over and over again, and that was our first band.
And no vocals.
No vocals. No. I didn't quite, have the fearlessness to start trying to sing at that point.
We don't need no stinking vocals. We just play like this.
Just play like this.
That's cool. So when did the first real guitar come that actually had the full complement of strings? When did that happen?
Well, that was a little later on. When I was finally able to work, old enough to work, I worked up some money and got this $25 guitar. It was an electric guitar, gorgeous. Looked like kind of like a Fender Mustang.
Right.
And, but it had, it only had one pickup in it, but it was, it was suitable. And I didn't have an amp at the time. A little before I was able to make a quote unquote electric guitar by taping a microphone to the strings and sticking aluminum foil over it to make power chord sounds.
Right.
With that guitar, I still plugged it into the stereo for a bit. Then I worked up the money and I got a Crate G10 amp. That was my first actual amplifier.
Crate, yeah, that was a lot of people's first amplifier.
That Crate, man, it would barely, almost hold up with a drummer if you raised it up high enough.
Yeah. Well, which brings about the next question. So when did the band start? Were you like playing with bands right away, or did it take a while?
Kind of, sort of. I'm also one of those naturally introverted people, so I didn't. It took me a while to kind of get out there. It was pretty much guitar was kind of like my hit thing, that nobody knew about, for a while, and then eventually I started talking to other people who played stuff, and I ended up jamming with a drummer and started liking that. And then before long, I put together a band, and there was, I think probably, Hack, you might agree too, that invariably you run into that guy who wants to play bass and doesn't know how to play a single instrument whatsoever. So you sit down hours for them and teach them how to play some of the songs, and now you've got a bass player. So
pretty much.
Yeah, I had that, and he ended up getting really good. But so I had the willing guy to play the bass, and I had a drummer, and so we had a 3-piece. Then I started singing at that point, and we were called Thunder Enlightenment.
Oh, there you go. Play on words. Cool. Yeah. It's funny you mentioned the bass thing, because I remember when I was one of my early bands and I was trying to put a band together. This guy owned a bass but couldn't play it. And I'll tell you one thing. You can teach. Okay, here's the root notes.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing you can't teach is here's the timing.
Oh yeah.
If they don't know when to switch, it's like, okay, that's it.
You have to. Everything's eighth notes for like the first few months, right?
Yeah.
You just go, good. All right, good.
If you have to tell the guy how many times he hits this one before he moves, it's game over. Oh, I lost count. It's like, really? It's like game over.
Yeah, it's like, don't worry about it. Just, I don't know, here, I'll look at you, and you go to A. There you go. Okay.
Yeah, fine. There you go. Just watch my head. Yeah. For the nod.
2-note simplified versions, and pretty much all songs just basically sound like cocaine, and there you go.
There you go. So what kind of material, what kind of songs were you guys doing with this Thunder Enlightenment band?
Thunder, yes. And it was actually Thunder Enlightenment.
Thunder Enlightenment. Okay,
yeah, it wasn't that good with English back in them there days.
Yeah, okay.
Because this was when I lived in the Midwest, so not a lot of us were actually really that good with the written word. So yeah, but Enlightenment, sure, sounded cool. But we'd play Born to Be Wild, Steppenwolf,
right.
Wise to the Rise, Black and Blue. That was one of them we did. One of the 80s tunes.
Yeah.
A lot of the simpler stuff like that. Keep Your Hands to Yourself, Georgia Satellites.
Oh yeah.
Cocaine, Eric Clapton, of course.
E. Yeah.
And yeah, exactly. A. And all originals and A or E. That's
right. That's cool. So how old were you at that point when you were playing around with Thunder Enlightenment?
Well, that was that was in my teens. So that was basically spanning like 17 to 18, something like that, when I finally got in my first group.
All right. So where did you go from there? Better gear, I'm assuming. Better band.
Yeah, I moved up to a Crate G40 chorus, and we ended up switching drummers a few times. But the same bass player stayed around. He started upping his bass and his rig, because I remember he had an amplifier that would crap out. He had a Crate bass amp as well, and it would crap out halfway through the gig, right? But if you hit it, it would come back on, at least for a certain point, and then it would just crap out again. So it became a regular thing when we'd be playing, and you'd hear the bass go out. So I just walk over, reach over, kick it, come back, kick it. So he ended up moving up in gear, but yeah, I moved up to the Crate G40 chorus. I got some kind of pointy guitar. That's like the tattoo on my arm. I don't know if you can see it. You probably can't, but it looks like Hetfield's. What has he got? What does Hetfield usually play?
Explorer.
Yeah, kind of like that, sort of. Then I got an Aria Pro 2 ZZ Custom, which was a pretty nice pointy guitar like that, and it had a Floyd Rose tremolo system on it by that time. So that's getting up to where I'm like 18, 19. Something like that. Starting to learn how to shred.
Yeah, you mentioned gigs. So were you guys gigging at that point?
Well, we started playing a lot of house parties because,
okay.
in that environment, we weren't really so much gigging. But, getting free food, drinks, all that other good stuff, rock star status, because we're like the only rock band there in the area.
Right.
And, but we all three of us collectively were getting better. I always preferred the 3-piece setup. And then occasionally we get a singer in there as well. And, but there was a band from another town that used to live in that town. We kind of had a rivalry with them, so to speak. And, it was just basically us young guys talking crap about the older band that was, of course, way more, talented and stuff like that. Well, they decided to come down and school us at a house party. And so they showed up. They're really nice. And they're like, hey, can we play a set? Sure. It blew us off the stage entirely. Just leveled us, right? And and I remember, and everybody was, so they finished out the night on our equipment, basically, most of our equipment.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, the guitar player, but he slowly, he had brought in his amp and things like that. So, and these guys were all bigger than us. There was, here we are. We're still small, scrawny guys, right? These guys, you didn't want to mess with them. And, they knew we were talking crap about them. It was really something. And, but afterwards, I was just fascinated on the fact that he didn't just play pentatonics. I noticed that there was these other notes that he was playing.
Oh, the in-between notes.
Yeah, yeah, right. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's
pentatonic. What?
Yeah, you had that like light bulb moment too with that, where like, whoa, there's more notes than just the pentatonic.
Yeah.
And so after they wiped the floor with us, I went up to him and I was like, hey Frank, how'd you learn all those other notes? Whatever. He was like, theory, my boy, theory, right? Theory. Okay, theory. So I go into the guitar store a few days later and I was like, hey, do you have any books on theory? And they're like, theory? You mean like scales and stuff? Yeah, I guess so. I don't know, theory. Oh, right. Sure, here. Heavy Metal Guitar Volume 2 by Troy Stetna. And I took that book and I said, all right, that's it. I'm going to go kick Frank's ass. But in order to do that, I've got to stay up all night, at least 8 hours a night after work, and put on a pot of coffee. And that's exactly what I did. I just went through this book, all the examples, and just learn these scales and just learn them. And
just woodshedded, yeah. So one thing that you meant, so that kind of sidestep, but I think it's important is, in that 3-piece band, were you the singer?
Yes. Yeah, by that time I had moved on to, I was doing.
You were a front man, in other words.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was
That's a skill all in its own.
It was by necessity, right? We either couldn't find a willing singer, or the singer was too drunk to play, or whatever. So I'd always get stuck up there fronting the band. And it happened again years later in New York as well. Same exact thing with a trio that I put together.
The reason I bring that up, and because that is very impressive, because being the only guitar player, singing and playing, that's a whole other stratosphere.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
because that ain't easy.
No.
You know what I mean?
No, it's not. It's definitely not. And sometimes you tend to kind of rely on maybe, simplifying a little bit of what you're doing behind you, or, coming up with songs, or whatever. I mean, there's a lot of give and take that you can do in there, some room to play with, I guess, if you will. And a lot of that too depends on how good your rhythm section is, because you lean on that more that way.
Yeah.
I like the challenge of that, that to me, it was always like, no matter what I did musically, I had to make sure that it was somehow challenging enough that I would get something out of it.
Right. Well, that's cool. And the fact that like you had the, you're developing, but it sounds like the players around you were also developing. So you guys were kind of all growing together. Yeah. That's important.
And all of us being self-taught, and you'd have really interesting stuff. Like I had the drummer, during one of the rehearsals, he's like, hey, check this out, guys, and he's sitting there and he actually tuned one of his floor toms to be just like the same tuning as the kick drum. So now he's playing around, and when he would hit that, it sounded like this insane kick beat, just things like that.
Like a double kick, yeah.
Yeah, like it was kind of like a double kick, but since he was like leading with his hands, the kick would fall into the groove in a different way, than you would
Well, that's
expect
cool.
from the foot. So
That's cool.
yeah, so he started incorporating that. I remember, we had our strobe light, so we crank that up for the drum solo, and he'd do his drum solo, and we just kind of made it a show, just turn it into a show.
So you're at this point, you're about 18, right?
Yeah.
All right. So what's the next phase then after that? Because at that point you're out of high school and now you're going to college / university. And so did you stick with those guys? Did you go find some other folks to challenge you further? How did you evolve musically from that heavy guitar Bible book?
Well, I ended up moving to New York, and so when I moved there, I was again solo for a long time, not really playing in groups. And then over time, I started going out to jam nights. Starting to discover the beauty of jam nights. And I went to a jam night. I know it's bad. I was starting to play with this drummer, and we were working on getting a band together and all this. And so he was like, "Yeah, come out to this jam night." Well, we're playing, and I was doing a lot of Zeppelin stuff. And this drummer, this other guy, I had met, he kept coming up. "Here's my card, man. We got to jam. We got to get together, whatever, right?" I'm like, "Sure, whatever." Well, he gets up later on, and still to this day, he's one of the best drummers I've ever seen. Period. The guy was friggin' amazing, and he was able to do things like play percussion and the beat at the same exact time. He could cop the John Bonham feel, like dead on, and he was playing, and I was like, "Okay,
mind blown.
I'll call you tomorrow, man, no doubt." And so I called him up, and he and I started jamming together. And then, of course, I had kind of a separate band going on with this other guy who was the willing bass player who owned the bass, who really couldn't play it again. Same thing. I said, "Mike, if you take a listen to this guy, all I know is that you and me both, we've got to really work hard." So he and I sat together for just hours, and we wrote a bunch of songs. And basically, I showed him how to play the parts, and we, got it together. I had a bunch of lyrics together, and we went all originals, and we went into that first rehearsal, and it was just pow. So then we were called Disturbed before Disturbed actually came out.
Right.
We ended up driving out to Amagansett at the far east end of Long Island, and it was supposed to be a jam night. And we signed on the list, and we got up like third or fourth or something like that, and it was our first time playing together. Turned out we had no idea, but it was actually a battle of the bands, and we won.
Oh, shit.
And we're playing up against pros. I mean, these guys actually gigged around the island, so that's we knew we had something pretty good there. So we started getting together material, started building up a following, and playing all over New York City, Long Island, just all up and down Long Island. We got hooked up with an agent, and we recorded the CD, and that did fairly. I mean, we did fairly well. We were, kind of a local band, but I guess you would say more like a regional band. We were on the radio, good amount of times doing radio interviews and things like that. I ended up becoming a guitar columnist for a magazine.
That's awesome. And okay, so when you're getting the gigs, are you playing covers or you're playing originals?
Just all originals. Yeah,
wow.
Yeah, we
had traction with that. That's amazing. What time frame? Like, what year is this? Are we talking about?
Now we're starting to head into the 90s, and we're getting like kind of into the later 90s now at this point. And that band much went until 99. Actually, it went till 2000. And I at that point too, I was picking up students, so I was teaching guitar. I was still managing a cell phone store and or a beeper technician, depending on what job I was working at that point, or working in a Radio Shack during the day, and then at night we'd be out there, basically just playing. We'd always get stuck on the late sets, and we played with all sorts of different bands. A lot of them moved on. Then I ended up playing with the producer for Wheatus, a band called Wheatus, and they did Teenage Dirtbag. I'm just a teenage dirtbag baby. Well, it was a hit. It was a really bad song actually. But this acoustic duo used to play there, and I used to play with them. Well, the guy lived right down the street from me, so when my band wasn't playing or whatever, I'd head over to his place and we'd jam, and I'd lay down guitar on his stuff and all that. He ended up producing that song. To this day, he doesn't have to do a single thing for a living. I mean, that song still covers.
That paved the way.
Oh yeah, yeah. He hooked up with. We just, it was one of those chance type things or whatever because he played percussion. But I remember he actually played me that song. He was like, "Jimmy, come on down. You got to hear this." So I'm listening to it. Right, he's got it. He sets me in between the monitors, right, and I'm listening to this thing. And I hated it, right? Because I love the stuff that he did. And so he gets done. He's like, "So what do you think?" I said, "Oh, it sucks, man. It's horrible. It's gonna be a hit." Sure enough, 2 weeks later, I hear it in the bar in the jukebox. And I'm like, "There you go, man."
Oh man,
Ooh, he was off, man.
So there's a couple of. First of all, let me just say this: if folks in the chat, if you've got questions for Jimmy or myself, are you in the chat, Jimmy, or no?
Oh yeah, I can see the chat. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
No.
You know what? Just to make it easy, just tag me and I'll forward the questions to Jimmy. So that's one thing. The second thing is, so you mentioned a couple of things. One was, and as much as I make fun of drummers, I gotta be honest here. I have never played with a bass player in my life. I only play with the drummer. Mm-hmm. And what if I play it to the best of my ability? Is that I know, as good as that might be, it's as a direct result of the drummer.
Yeah.
I think the drummer is so important, and when you lock in with a guy who can really play the drums, it just elevates your game. Not that the bass isn't important, but I always find for me the drummer seems to have a little bit more impact, if you will, on my playing and the overall sound of the band.
Oh yeah, you're so right. You're so right. And it's overall sound of the recordings, overall sound of everything. Those drums really.
Yeah, I mean, the drums are driving the bus, right? You know what I mean? Here's a question from Edwin Crane, and we're kind of going to get to that. And Edwin's asking how you get so good, Jimmy. So we're kind of getting to that. So, so you're in the New York area. You're becoming a known entity. You're playing with a bunch of different people. You're doing original recordings. You're getting gigs. You got the agent, which is super important. And you mentioned also that you were writing in a guitar column. Mm-hmm. Now let's talk about that a little bit. So, what guitar magazine were you writing for?
It wasn't a dedicated guitar magazine. It was actually called The Inside Connection, and it was a music magazine.
Okay.
And so they covered a lot of different things. They covered what was going on in the scene. They covered, gear, just all kinds of things. And so I first wrote a column for them called The Underground Soldier. It was a column they had called The Underground Soldier. And one of the guys who was connected with that magazine said, "Hey, can you write a column for it?" And it was basically a column dedicated to somebody from one of the bands in the area, just kind of writing about, what it's like and offering advice and things like that. And so I wrote one. I can't even remember how it went, but it was basically just talking about, trials and tribulations, things that we face, and, how we get things and things like that, and how to get gigs or what's a good way to maybe get started and things like that. And then a few months later, the magazine contacted me at that point. They said, "Hey, you had written for us before, and, would you be up to maybe doing a column? We want to start that, a guitar column." And so I was like, "Yeah, oh, hell yeah." So I did the column where basically I write out tab. I talk about a scale, or I talk about a lick, or I talk about maybe a particular song and maybe the guitar player's approach and stuff like that. And it ended up, stretching out into gear. So, I'd get sent little things and pedals and stuff like that, and I'd write about them, do a review on them and stuff like that. And then the coolest thing was, I don't know if any of you are familiar with the acoustic guitar player, Martin Taylor from England. I got to interview him. So they, his publicist sent me a whole ton of CDs, that Mahavishnu Orchestra, all these jazz, Miles Davis, it's really cool set of CDs, and of course Martin Taylor's, and so I got to sit with him for a couple hours in a bar and record him and just ask him all sorts of questions about his playing and everything else, and it was really cool. It was neat to interview somebody like that. He turned out to actually be one of the judges that I didn't realize this, past. This was before I interviewed him, but he was one of the judges in the UK who voted for Guthrie Govan as the best guitar player, who now is pretty much my biggest influence. So it's kind of a
right
turnaround of events there.
So to answer the question earlier, it's not, I mean, you're talking skills, so you pretty much really went head first into the whole theory thing, and then done a ton of woodshedding, and made those scales on a page, made them part of your playing and part of your vocabulary.
Oh yeah. Scales are really fascinating. I found that, once I let them become fascinating instead of just being, a technical thing, the way the Heavy Metal Lead Guitar Volume 2, Troy Stettner, the way he described the scales in the book was really cool, because he talked about them from a mood standpoint. You know what I mean? Like he'd start off with the Ionian. It's a really happy scale, whatever. He'd move in and he'd talk about the Lydian being this mysterious sounding scale, and it's
right.
like, ooh, okay, so I could make something that sounds mysterious by doing this. Oh, and so I started just getting deeper into that. And before long, I would sit there all night writing out dot patterns of all these other kind of alternations of the scales, across the fretboard. So then I could try each of them out on their starting root notes and listen to all those new scales coming out, and it just became like an obsession.
Yeah, that's a shit ton of woodshedding there for sure, man.
Yeah, and it didn't feel like woodshedding, really. It felt more like just like getting engrossed in a book that you just can't get out of. It was like that. It was just so cool. Cool. What can I discover tonight?
Right. No, that's cool. I mean, yeah, and that obviously that energized your willingness to dig deep and keep digging, right?
Yeah, definitely. And playing with that drummer, the thing is about that drummer is that he was able to lay down such a funk groove, and that's really kind of what got me into the grooving. Was that. I start going chicka chicka over the top, and it was like he carried me like a wave, and right. I got addicted to that. So that I started coming up with different ways to go chicka chicka and keep morphing it. And so I started writing the songs around like that. Like, okay, it's always got to have some kind of chicka in it or something, and then it'd also be heavy as well, so that you kind of have. It was always groove based, because the way that guy played, he had a real command of the drums.
So Mitch is saying if you search for Jimmy's name on Google, you will get a lot of hits. So hopefully. You've got a pretty good online presence. Yeah, that's cool, man. So okay, so you're in New York, you're doing the original stuff. I don't know if you mentioned it, or I might have missed it, but you said some of your stuff was getting airplay. Is that correct?
Yeah, we used to do, it was our songs off our CD would get airplay pretty much every week on, local shows. And then some of them would have in studio where we'd actually go in and play live in the studio, and they would broadcast that.
Oh, that's cool, man.
WBAB, WLIR, a couple of the other stations. And then also, too, the DJs from the stations would also sometimes put on shows. So they'd invite all their favorite bands out and stuff like that. So we'd be included in a lot of those where we'd go out and play a club and stuff.
And this is still you. You're the lead vocalist. This is still a 3-piece, correct?
Still 3-piece. Yeah, it was always a 3-piece.
Wow.
We tried to get a singer. We did. And we actually last rehearsal with the singer, and then the singer just did not show up to the gig. He just didn't show up.
Hard to believe in a singer.
Yeah. Just nothing. Just gone. Okay, well, I'll sing again. So that's how it always happened. It was like, fine, I'll sing. Whatever.
Yeah, it's Who would have thought a singer wouldn't show up? Yeah, it's so
Yeah, but it was
uncharacteristic.
because then it forced it, and since we're doing all originals, it forced me into lyric writing, and forced me to dig deep into experiences and to find ways of getting those to be shaped into a song and stuff like that.
All right, so where do we go from here? Where does the New York experience? What does that lead to next?
Well, after a while, we started having creative differences in the band, and
Oh wow,
me and the drummer became like this, and the poor bass player, he felt like he was just stuck in the middle of all of it, and it just got bad. I'd put a song out there, and they're like, no, well, fine. What the hell are we gonna do? We're doing the same damn songs every single time we play. Come on, let's add something new to the repertoire, something.
Right.
And before long, it became bad. But by that time, see, my dad had lived in New York, so I had followed him and his wife, my stepmom, and they had moved to Vegas. And I was originally from Vegas, when I was a kid. Like, the first guitar experience and all that was in Vegas. And then
actually, Janice is asking a question. I was just thinking the same thing. The name of the band in New York, what was that band called?
That was Disturbed.
Disturbed, yeah, you mentioned that. Okay, sorry. Yeah, before Disturbed, yeah.
And we actually were playing a club, and the Disturbed that you guys all know about did contact said club, and they told the owner, hey, they might want to change their name or whatever. And we're like, yeah, we're not changing anything. Screw you guys. And we just stayed Disturbed throughout.
Stayed Disturbed, okay.
Yeah.
All right, sorry to cut you off. Go. We were talking about Vegas, moving to Vegas.
Yeah, moving to Vegas. So, by that time, I was tired of managing cell phone stores and all that, and I knew Vegas had kind of more of a conducive scene to actually working, in music, playing. Mm-hmm. So my dad was already doing it, so I said, hey, Dad, how about I come out there? And he's like, yeah, sure, come on out. We have a band starting up and everything like that, and so we ended up. So I ended up moving there, and we got a band together, and it was one of the. It's kind of ramshackle band, but we were doing a lot of lounge type stuff, a lot of Frank Sinatra and things like that. And we had a great singer, Joe Grauso, rest in peace. He was a really cool dude. But it was a rough start. I remember we played a brewery, and of course that's the last place you want to play Sinatra type songs, right? But and then so. The drunks would be like, hey, man, play Shaggy, right? So, I'd get up there and I'd tell the drummer, okay, here, play 4/4. Okay. Hey, Dad, just play dun, dun. And I'd be like reciting whatever I knew of the rap, Right. The counter. It wasn't me, and all that. They'd still throw us the tips, we were happy. And then we ended up securing a gig at the Lady Luck Hotel and Casino downtown Vegas. And they had just opened their showroom, so we were the very first band there playing. And the band wasn't great. I mean, we had tracks on them that actually had mistakes in the tracks. You're guaranteed that same mistake night after night,
That's right.
But we were getting toward the end of our run there, and there was this lady sitting out there, two ladies sitting out there, and I finally worked up the nerve to go talk to them, whatever. And to this day, one of those ladies is my wife.
Oh, nice.
At the gig. And and she lived in Canada. So we had a long distance relationship for a while.
Canada?
Yeah, she was in BC.
Oh, those people are horrible up there.
I'm telling you, man, those Canadians. They just sit around, drink Tim Hortons all the time. I don't know.
That's all we do. We drink Tim Hortons and Molson Canadian.
I'm telling you, man.
That's it.
Make better wings than we ever could imagine down here.
That's all we do.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
So yeah, so I, but and then she ended up moving down. We got married, and at that time I started playing in more. I started playing in different bands. A lot of kind of more like crazy, dance type grooves. Hooked up with this guy named Rico Diamante, who's just a total showman, and he put together a band, and hooked up with a really great funk drummer there, a guy named Bailey Hicks, and so we played in I'd try to drag him into groups where I was playing. He dragged me into groups as well, and we'd go out there and play, all sorts of lounges all over the place. And I was still playing with the Real Deal, which was the group with my dad as well. Whenever we got gigs, and then
that must have been some stiff competition in Vegas, no?
Yeah, it was. It's the thing about Vegas is that it wasn't so merit based like it was in New York. In New York, you had to really musically cut it. You had to be good in New York to really kind of get anywhere. But in Vegas, it wasn't so much like that. It was a little bit more about kind of how connected you are or whatever. So they always worship he who has most gigs is worshipped in Vegas. That's the way it's looked at there.
Right. Well, I heard something about New York. Let me see if I can remember the quote. If you can make it there, you can make it anywhere.
Yeah, pretty much.
Just make that up.
New York City was even tougher, man. Oof, I'll tell you, New York City was great players.
That's cool. Yeah, because I mean, I've been to Vegas multiple times, and there's no such thing as a bad musician in Vegas.
I can tell you that there is. Oh my God!
Oh, really? I guess I didn't look hard enough.
Oh yeah. Well, the Fringe. You know what I'm saying? I mean, really, you had the people who played on the Strip. Were solid, but then you had the Fringe out there, and it really wasn't like the New York scene. And the New York scene. I mean, it was such a meritocracy in the jam nights. Like, I mean, you had to get up and kill on stage,
right?
And, in Vegas, I mean, you get these people, staring at their shoes. Just, oh man, I'm sorry, but some of the worst players I played with was in Vegas. Really? I hate to say it, yeah. Not even like Tucson. Tucson, they seem to be working pretty well out.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that in a second. Waleed is saying, can you congratulate Guitar Meets Science on his great Kiesel entry?
Oh, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
And then he goes on to say, I didn't see yours hack. Well, you won't.
Do it. It's a really cool backing track. Actually, it's very.
I'm sure it is, but I mean, I know my limits, and I stay in my lane.
That's all right too.
I'll stay in my lane. Yeah,
it's cool. I appreciate that, man. Thank you.
So, how long did you do the Vegas thing, and when did you finally move away from there? Hey, but before you answer that, Hugh Caldwell is saying, does Jimmy have a superpower? He has everything else.
Thank you, man. You're very kind. No superpowers, though. No.
Yeah, so the Vegas thing, so that went on for how long, and what did you move on to from there?
Well, the Vegas thing was basically, I mean, there was a lot in that, but it was basically, I want to say a good solid 15 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because once I got kind of out of that scene, then when my wife and I got married, I met this guy in the tux shop that I was renting the tux, and he was kind of this crazy guy and really kind of loud and obnoxious and everything. But he's like, I got to talking to him a bit, told him I played guitar, and I gave him this really ugly orange business card that said Jimmy Minone Groove Guitar on it. And he's like, sure, yeah, I'll have a show going on. Eventually, I thought he was just blowing smoke, and then like 6 months later, he calls me up and he goes, yeah, I've got a residency over at the Riviera Hotel. You want to play? And I'm like, yeah, sure. He goes, yeah, it was your ugly orange business card just stuck out at me. I was like, well, there we go. Bad graphics can save the day. And so I secured that gig. And then before long, they had the showroom stacked. So there you'd have acts, back to back. And I started playing more and more of those acts. I played with Marlene Rickey, who did more like cabaret style music, and we'd get up there and play like a real beautiful rendition of like Over the Rainbow, and that's when I got my nylon string guitar and things like that. And then I ended up hooking up with the Neil Diamond tribute band, because he had his guitar player and bass player, but then those two were taking off. Actually, their guitar player now sings for LA Guns, Kurt Frolic.
Wow.
So I took Kurt's place in that group, and he we started expanding out. So then he started doing gigs, out of town, and then before long we started playing like in Calgary, Alberta. We played, and I can't remember the name of the place, but we actually played with the Calgary Philharmonic there, and they're behind us. So here we are, like basically the rock band, with the strings and all that behind us.
Oh, very cool, man. That's cool.
Great experience. And we played in Mexico. We played just all over the place. And so I did that. I played with them for a while, and then I also taught professionally. So I taught in a music store, and then I taught in a private school, and then I also taught like privately as well. So I was just teaching lessons to keep the bills paid in between the gigs.
Right.
And then we go out and play. We played for a crowd. We played for an audience as big as 25,000 by Salt Lake City for the Taylorsville Days Festival. It was huge. That's all you could see out all the way out over the hill were people, and it was a real rush. And then eventually, he wasn't working for a while. Things just kind of, fizzled out, and then I got into school at that point. So I'm a late student, and I got into university in my 40s. Did 4 years. Well, really 5, because I did community college before that. Because I'm not actually a high school dropout, and so my education was spotty at best. So I did a year's worth of community college while teaching, and then ended up, doing the 4 years for my bachelor in computer engineering. And then I was like, okay, well, now I've got to pay for this somehow. And I got hooked up with somebody who worked here in Tucson, where I'm at now, and so I interviewed and hired on and moved out here. So I've been out here for about 3 years.
Yeah, we have that in common. I went back to school when I was 38.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I had gone. But before that, I had done the college, which knocked a year off my university degree. But still, because I was doing it part time, this and that, it still took me 4 years. But so yeah, I'm a university graduate at the age of 42.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, see, here we are, man. We're coming out.
That's it. Well, you know what? I'll tell you. I mean, you got a hell of a lot more focus at 38 than you do at 18. That's for sure.
That's absolutely true. Yeah, I tried
laser focus.
I tried college. I lasted 1 semester trying to go for my music degree, and it was one of those type things where I'm looking to the left and to the right. I'm like, okay, this guy over here has his master's. This guy has his bachelor's. We're all sitting here making the same exact amount of money, and I don't have it. So what's the point, right?
Yeah.
At that time, that was my mindset,
So we got a question here from Julie. Welcome, Julie. Julie's asking, what's Jimmy's favorite gig he's played, if any?
Ooh, yeah, that's I would definitely rank the Taylorsville Days gigs up there when I played with the Neil Diamond tribute band, just because there were so many people there that you could feel the energy. You know what I mean? So I mean, when they went, you hear that crowd that sounded just like that. But there were so many. There were also gigs I did with Disturbed. Where it was a smaller venue, but that we would just hit it hard one night or whatever. But yeah, the standouts definitely were those Taylorsville Days gigs. Those were a lot of fun.
Is any of that original music of yours with Disturbed, is that stuff available to the folks if they might be interested in checking it out? Or is it on YouTube or?
We had done a release of it. Actually, we did like the whole thing. We ordered a whole ton of CDs, sold them, and all that other stuff. I found one on eBay, yeah, it never was released to a label or anything like that.
Oh, okay.
But I'll probably, I might as well go ahead and eventually here, in a couple weeks or something, maybe I'll just go ahead and put it up there. It'll be a long video with, a picture on it, and so that everybody can check it out, because it was some good stuff.
Yeah, that sounds cool. Edwin is asking, what's your favorite scale?
Edwin, my brother, how you doing, man? My favorite scale, it's got to be the Jamolian scale, man.
I was gonna say I like J.
There we go. Yeah. No, the Dorian, definitely. That's pretty much used most of the time. Is the Dorian.
Dorian, yeah, yeah. Wow, that's quite the story, man. You know, and I can see now, like the thing with your channel. I mean, when you popped up in the community, I'm like, it's like this guy's not okay. Don't take this the wrong way, but I mean, most of the folks in our community are sort of they fit my profile in the sense that they're just hobbyists, hacks for a better term. They just kind of play a little bit, maybe semi-professionally, or they were in a bar band once, or da 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 da. And then when I come across your channel, I'm like, what the holy shit? Like, you do not fit the profile.
Oh,
and
man.
I'm saying that with all with all due respect. It's not. It's like, holy shit, this guy can actually do it for real. So that's why I wanted to have you on, and I wanted you to share your story, right? Because I knew that there was a lot. There was a lot of layers or a lot of steps to get you to the point of, and I'll tell you something else. Your channel, it's a crime that you don't have like thousands of subscribers, because you have such an well, I mean, anyone who's seen, and folks, by the way, if you're not sub to Jimmy, the link is below. Check this guy out. I mean, you're a monster freaking player. You should be up there with the big boys, if in the YouTube world. I mean, because your playing is off the charts, man.
Hey, thank you, brother. I really appreciate that, man.
No, I'm not blowing smoke. I'm just telling it how it is, man. Yeah, and metalhead hippie said it. Yeah, Jimmy is the real deal, and it's super, and when you're, and the thing is too, what I really dig about your channel is, I mean, there's guys who can play at your level and better, and they tend to sort of separate themselves, whether it be an attitude or whatever, from like the little guy, the hacker, so to speak. But you're not like that at all. It's like you're welcoming everybody, and it's like, and you comment. I mean, you've commented on my videos, and you've been, very, very complimentary, and and it's like, and I'm, it's like this guy's complimenting me on my play, and it's like, you know what I mean? It's just you're not sort of thumbing your nose at us. You're a part of us. So anybody, folks, if you are not sub to this guy, sub to this guy. It's just your live streams are phenomenal. The stuff that you just sit there and it's like, here's a bass line, here's a drum track, and you just smoke for like 10 minutes. I'm like, holy shit. It's just super entertaining, and your attitude is off the charts, just phenomenal. And I'm so happy that to have you on, and hopefully turn on a few people in the chat to your channel. So that was my whole reason for having you on tonight. So
man, that was so cool of you to have me. Really appreciate it.
Really. So here's some of the comments. I got to read some of these. So 2019 Chaos Music says, I renamed Jimmy the Lord of the Strings. What do you think?
Love it, man.
Yeah, that works. That works. Hugh Caldwell agrees. Yeah, Headstock Harem. Here's a question. How did Jimmy come? Oh, yeah, the guitar meets science thing. So that was a question I had for you, too. So how did that come about? And let's talk about your YouTube channel since we're on the topic. What sort of motivated you to do the YouTube channel? And where did guitar meet science? Where did that all come from?
Thanks. Well, Hack, first off, man, thank you for your kind words. I really appreciate that. I mean, we're all
like it is.
We're all here, and we all have the same struggles, and we're all just moving along, and it's just great to be part of it, really. And it was funny because the stream I'm on right now was the very first live stream I've ever seen. I was like, I had subscribed to you, and then I don't remember what happened. All of a sudden, I see live, on the square there. I'm like, live. And there he is. He's sitting there. He's having a great time. He's talking about gear. People love him. I mean, this is fantastic. I want to do that, or whatever. But it was like, wow, it was pretty cool to see. And I was too shy to, participate in the chat at that point. And then I think I got onto the second one, the second one of yours that I saw. You know, I got to go see Hack again. You know, so I hopped on there and I got on, and I don't know if you remember or not, but I said, well, I used to be Burn and Get Fiddle, but now I'm Guitar Meets Science. And
Yeah.
I had just changed my name because Burn and Get Fiddle, nobody could ever understand what it was or pronounce it or whatever. It was Burnin' Get Fiddle, and Get Fiddle was like a joke, you know. Like, hey, did you bring your Get Fiddle along? You know, I thought everybody would, but most people like, you know, whatever. So I thought of it at work, you know. I was on break and I was like, Guitar Meets Science, or Guitar Meets Engineering. I'm like, engineering, it's too many syllables. Science, yeah, that works. Okay.
Right.
So that's how I changed it to that. And it was a good thing, you know, because now people can understand the name. But I've actually had the channel for ages. I even have an old video, a Pod X3 Live, that actually got 100,000 views, you know, well over 100,000 views over its lifetime.
Nice.
Yeah, because I just hit the search terms, and at the time, you know, Pod X3 Live was the big pedal, and it was brand new, and I had the brand new one, so I called it Pod X3 Live, and it was just a ballad of me, you know, looping over the top of it. I was like, wow, this YouTube thing is so easy. This is great, you know. And
they're all going to be 100,000.
Yeah, that was like 5 views, you know, and some of the comments, of course, I'm like, man, these people can be brutal, you know, harsh or whatever. So then I just got off it. Stayed off of it for years, and then I think I ran into EJ's guitars somewhere in there. I put up, I just for the hell of it, I put up the solo for Cult of Personality, and Anthony Couch came in and he put a nice comment on there. You know, he said, "Oh, that was great playing, right?" So I go and I see him, and I'm like, "Wow, he's got all these subscribers, man! Whoa, dude, this is crazy, right?" And then EJ's Guitars, and then so I, you know, subscribed to them, and EJ's Guitars then was having his to shred or not to shred challenge.
I remember that. Yeah.
So I get on that, and then I started kind of slowly meeting more and more people. You know, EJ's was cool, and it was just so fun. You know, it's the Empirism and all you guys here in the, you know, so many of you guys here in the chat I got to meet and everything, like doing it that way. And then before long, I kind of started branching into trying live streams and, you know, putting up videos regularly and things like that. Got to know Mitch early on. Metal Soda. I was watching one of my first streams. It was only me and Metal Soda. That was it. So we were hanging out. Metal Soda was talking, and we were just going. And I'm streaming to him, and we hung out for a couple hours. It was great.
Humble beginnings, yeah.
Yeah. Metal Soda, man. And he introduced me to thrash metal and fun riffs. Who's been a friend of mine ever since. Phenomenal guy, and he's so phenomenal. I trust him to be my my troll patrol.
Troll patrol.
Yep, that's what I call him, my troll patrol. So his name's in blue on my stream now, and that's a cool thing. Cool. And then
Metalhead Hippie saying that you made the intro for his live chat. So
yeah, so then from there, you know, the live stream itself just kind of morphed and branched, and I just keep on trying new things, and you know, maybe it'll shape up into a true format, or maybe it just never will. It'll just always be God knows what, and it's 3 hours of God knows what really is what the format is of it. And so one day I'm sitting there, you know, because now I got to know Metalhead Hippie, and I mean, he's branching out, he's doing all kinds of stuff, and he's supporting acts as well, and we got this community going on now. You and you know, just all these great people, and so he's like, yeah, can you play Doom? And of course, I didn't know what Doom was. I still don't know. I'm trying, you know. But I sat down and I started laying down some stuff. It was on the live stream itself, and it started kind of shaping itself into the song, you know. And I was getting help from him and Thrash, and I was also getting help from Rick Hefner. Rick, shout out to him if he's on there. But you know, he was helping me, kind of, you know, pointing, oh, Doom slower, you know, just things like that. And before it shaped up, and said, well, okay, hey, it could be an intro, you know, for a show. And so at that point, I kind of went back, re-recorded it, tuned the guitar down a whole step so I could get those real crazy Zakk Wylde bends going on with the Les Paul, and did it. And I'm like, okay, this one will work, you know, because I had two kind of weaker versions going on there. and it just worked, So so now it is the intro on Metalhead Hippie Show. So
No, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, you mentioned the first time you were live, you had one person on. Well, it's like, first time I went live was about the same thing, but it takes time. You know what? I've been mentioning your live show. So for anyone that doesn't know, what time are you on? What day? I know it's Sunday,
yeah,
but you're Pacific.
Yeah, so Pacific time is 3:00 p.m. See, it's not really technically Pacific because we are coming up on a time change. In Arizona, where I'm at, never changes, so that's Mountain Time. But as it stands right now, it's 3:00 p.m. Pacific or 6 p.m. Eastern.
6 p.m. Eastern, yeah. So, folks, if you're looking for something to watch on Sundays at 6, check out Jimmy. It's super entertaining. I mean, you're playing stuff on the fly, and it's just really upbeat. And the other thing that's cool too is, you're always interacting with the chat, which is very, very cool. Very, very cool.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I'll take it up to 3 hours, 3 some odd hours, at least until dinner time if we're all having a good time. And lately, past few months, I haven't had to cut it short. So yeah, we're going 3 hours usually.
Well, Johnny Bean is with us. Hey, Johnny, welcome. He's asking, where in Arizona are you? Johnny was born in Phoenix.
Oh, okay. So yeah, you were born in the hottest part of the country. I'm down in Tucson.
He's in Tucson.
Yeah.
So we were talking about the kazoo off air, and Hugh Caldwell saying you're the best kazoo player on the planet. So
I don't know about that, but surely one of the wackiest, I suppose.
I was saying to Jimmy off air, it's like, so you got a thing where, man, if I hit 20 people watching, I'm going to start playing the kazoo. And I'm like, no, don't play the kazoo. I just want to hear guitar.
I was telling Hack, though, I said, well, maybe somebody sadistic out there will then go ahead and start signing up to their alternate accounts to get it to 20 to get me to play the kazoo, And,
right.
So,
Dave's guitar channel's in here. Welcome. He's saying Rainbow Guitars in Tucson is awesome. Are you familiar with Rainbow Guitars?
We do have Rainbow. Yep, absolutely. That place is legendary.
Cool. And Johnny says he played a sports bar in Tucson years ago.
Oh,
cool.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah, if anyone's got any questions, please tag me so I can see them right away. So let's talk a little bit about gear. Now, on your live streams, I see you playing a Strat, I see you playing an Ibanez, and then you have another guitar that's a semi-hollow, correct?
I don't have an actual semi-hollow.
Or is it? It looks like a Dan Electro, but it's red, the red one.
Oh, the red one. That's the Washburn Lion.
Washburn Lion. Okay.
Yeah, that's this bad boy.
Okay, that's the one. Yeah.
Yeah, and this was actually given to me by a friend of mine, and he had bought it for his daughter, who I guess tried it once and didn't like it at all, didn't want to play, and so he had this little amp and guitar package. He was like, "Here, you want it?" I'm like, "Sure, no problem." And the guitar just sat there collecting dust for the longest time. But then I ended up modding it, scalloping the fretboard, rewiring it, and sure enough, now it's like I play that thing a lot.
Yeah, I see you playing that. So what's gear wise? Let's talk about gear for a minute. So what is like your go-to guitar? I don't know if you're playing through an amp or you're just playing through an interface, but what are you doing typically? What gear are you gravitating to in your live streams?
Well, for the live streams, I'm still going into the old Pod X3 Live pedal for all the distortion, amp sims, wah, or bass sounds, depending, because it's got bass patches as well as guitar patches that I set up, and then I just any one of the guitars I feel like playing. Fender Stratocaster, it's kind of a hybrid. Has a really old 70s neck on it, 80s body, 90s parts. Then I've got the Les Paul Studio 92 model, and Les Paul himself said that I was a good model because I got to meet Les Paul at the Iridium, which was really cool. And he was like, "What kind of guitar you got?" I said, "I got a '92 Studio." He goes, "That's a good guitar." I was like, "That's all I need to hear."
Yeah, well, the '90s, yeah, that was the original run of studios, and they were good. They were good guitars when they came out.
Yeah, it was like $650, and the value on those goes up as well. And then I've got a guitar I found in the garbage, which is a Bridgecraft, and lately I've been playing that a lot more. It's got really high action. I can't get the action low enough on it, but I've managed to really kind of balance out the neck, and now it's just a real dig-in kind of guitar. It's got a real good attitude to it, and I've got the first guitar I scalloped was the black and white Yamaha Pacifica that I bought off of a shoe shine guy who shined shoes in a car wash and sold guitars at the same time.
Wow. Like that resume. What do you do for a living? I shine shoes and I sell guitars.
It's so funny because my wife was actually getting her car washed, and she calls me up. She's like, there's this guy selling guitars. I don't know. You want to come take a look? And I said, yeah. And I come down, and so he had that going for $125. I talked him down. He gave me a sob story, and so I walked out with it for $125.
It's all right.
Yeah, he made me feel really bad. So he let me negotiate him down, but then he told me all about his hardships and stuff, and I said, okay, well, how about 125? Yeah, sure. So here you
go. Yeah. And you say you scallop your guitars. So do you scallop the whole thing, or are you like, I'm going to scallop from, say, 15th fret upwards for access?
I just thought, I might as well go big or go home. I'm going to try full scallop on this, and so I went. Yeah, just did the full scallop on it. The first time took me a really long time because I was really scared because the number one thing you don't want to do is nick the frets when you're doing it.
Right.
So I took a lot of extra care, but eventually I figured out, you can use 2 layers of electrical tape and really, kind of go nuts with it. And then I did it to my Ibanez, my Strat, the one I found in the garbage, the red one. And that was pretty much it. Like, I won't do it with the Paul. I want to leave the Paul the way it is,
Yeah. It's once you scallop them, they're yours for life because no one's going to, well, I shouldn't say no one's going to buy them, but they'll probably be a lot harder to unload.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, and the guitar I definitely do have to mention too is the double neck. That's a really cool guitar. It's an OLP double neck.
Right. OLP.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's like it's an Ernie Ball looking thing, right?
Yeah, and that's it's a big heavy guitar, but it's awesome. It's got the 12-string on top, 6-string on the bottom. My mother-in-law, rest in peace, she got me that one Christmas. Her and my wife together got me that.
Well, that's cool. That's cool. 2019 Chaos Music says, just to say, glad to meet you both, you and Jimmy, in the last few days. You're very welcome, man. Thanks for checking out the channel, because he came on my channel from your announcement and looked at a couple of videos. So that was very, very cool.
He's very cool. He's talented too. Yeah, I've seen him do some cool stuff.
Oh, cool. So right now, in terms of music, like, what are you doing right now? Like, are you being in Arizona now? Are you playing with bands? Are you doing like original recordings? Like, what are you, the YouTube thing? Like, what sort of encompasses your musical life right now?
Well, I was doing a lot of jam nights when I came here. I hooked up with this guy named Deacon, because I used to work, right before I moved here, for about a year before I moved here, I played in a house band that hosted a jam night in Vegas. So it was kind of, I was a little nervous when I came to Tucson, like, God, what's this going to be like? And I hooked up with this guy named Deacon. He's this guy who's been doing it for many years, running these jam nights, and he is just something else. Really cool dude. And right now, these times, I haven't been going, but I was right at home with him and playing with just some fantastic musicians out here on Sundays. But then the stream started taking off, and so I kind of went, more seldom because I was kind of getting more into doing the live streams at that point. So right now I'm a YouTube musician, basically, straight up.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So, but it's cool that you hooked up with some local folks, and I mean, hopefully when this all ends, you can go back to playing with people and an audience, and you know
Yeah, yeah, real
that's
right.
cool. Yeah, yeah. So we just want to take this time out here. I want to thank. We got 58 people here. I want to thank everybody for checking out the stream. Much appreciated. If you want to help support the Guitar Hack channel, in the links below, I've got there's a Guitar Hack store. There's T-shirts. There's mugs. There's all kinds of stuff. That would all be much appreciated. Also below, I have a PayPal. That would also be much appreciated. Um, and if you don't follow me on Instagram or Facebook, I have those links below as well. And most importantly, if you're not sub to Jimmy's channel, I have his link. So I think you guys should all definitely sub to Jimmy's channel. Live streams, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. Absolutely phenomenal. He's great. He interacts with the chat, and the guy's just an absolute freaking monster player. So not to be missed. Not to be missed. Not to be missed. And you're mentioning about the community, like um, the community that we have, which I've been a part of now for the better part of a year, is fantastic. Like, the folks that are in the chat here, the folks that watch, you'll see the same names all the time, right? And it's just a really, really cool group of people. And one thing that we were talking about this off air with with Jimmy and myself, one thing that we kind of both agree on is the whole idea of playing and putting out videos to encourage other folks to do the same.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and you put out that challenge that I participated in not too long ago. Can you twang?
Yeah.
Stuff like that, which is really, really cool because it gets everybody playing. And again, it's not a matter of if you're a virtuoso or not. Just pick up the damn guitar and play it. It's a positive, supportive environment. Just play your guitar and just enjoy playing it. And what's cool about those challenges, and I do, it's sort of a very unofficial one, but I do a thing with Don from 2 and 3 chord jams, and we pass around backing tracks and we play over them. Like Don just did it the other day. Mine is going to go up on, I think, Saturday or whatever. And what's cool about it is when you hear different folks play over the same piece of music, and I'm sure you experienced this when you did the twang thing. You notice nobody played the same notes. Everybody came at it from a completely different direction. That, I think, is the beauty of it.
That's a rush. It's such a rush to see, and especially when you see, okay, I got new entries. Hey, I did a new entry. I did one, and so wake up with the morning coffee, kick on the headphones and just listen and go, wow, and like you were saying, you were talking about, the skills. To me, it's like, I think a lot of people tend to place skill level on, say like agility or being able to play fast or whatever the case is. But, I see it as these players who are just able to express themselves. You know what I mean? Like yourself. I mean, when I leave nice comments on anything, it's because I really mean it, because of the fact that I'm like, hey, that's how you phrase. You know what I mean? I mean, that the phrasing that you do is incredible. And
I appreciate that.
And that's what, so regardless of whether you're like, well, I'm not, and I think that a lot of players kind of get, not you necessarily, but, I've heard of players who kind of get caught up and say, well, what, we all have our goals, but I don't know. I mean, I've had my mind blown so many times by all you people in the chat one time or another that, I don't know what to say in terms of, rating one's skills off of, say, how fast they play or whatever, because I don't know. My mind's just been blown a lot,
Yeah, it's not about the acrobatics. And most of our, like I grew up in the 80s, but my favorite guitar players were all 70s guys. Mm-hmm. But that was before the acrobatics and all that came into it. And I was I'm all about the melody and the note choice.
Yeah.
You know, and that's really where what I appreciate more than. And you mentioned Jimmy Page, which sort of there's the poster child for that, right?
Exactly.
You know,
And that's still the stuff I gravitate to, just like you. Like you were saying.
yeah. So it's not all about acrobatics. So Ben Thomas saying to both of us exactly phrasing, melody, so important. And there's another person who is super talented and who should put out more videos. Ben Tom, there. I've said it to you and 53 other people. I want to see more out of Tom because Tom can play. So
yeah, man. Definitely. Emperism's here. Wow, he's in Finland.
Hey, Emperism, welcome, man.
Yeah, man.
I don't know. I guess is it late for him? I'm not sure.
It's like late or early. We're not quite sure.
It's either really late or really, really early. Yeah. R2 saying Jimmy rocks.
R2, you rock, man. Good seeing
you. Rock, buddy. There's another guy who can shred my face off. Yeah. All right, cool. All right, so Jimmy, is there anything that we should know about? Stuff coming up on your channel? Stuff we should keep an eye out for?
Well, I'm actually I've been kind of silent lately because I've been diligently trying to work on this cover song. Kind of want to pay homage to really my favorite band currently, which is the Aristocrats. I got to see them live in Mesa, and they are just frigging incredible. A lot of people don't know about them, and I'm listening to them all the time, just going to and from work or just whatever. So, so I'm going to do a cover of theirs. I've got the drums pretty much laid down, and I'm going to try to tackle the bass and the guitar, and I programmed the drums all on the grid. So,
wow, that's an undertaking, man.
Yeah, it's gonna be it's a really cool piece, and so that's what I've been kind of like at. So I'm hoping to be able to wrap that up this weekend, and then get back to playing easier stuff again.
Yeah, really, must be a relief. Yeah, 3 chords. I'm happier now.
Yeah,
Ben Thomas saying, "Tell Jimmy I said hi to Mr. Bill."
Bill says hi.
Yeah, Bill. Is Bill around?
Where's Bill? Bill will probably make his way back here.
All right. Okay, cool. We'll look forward to that. And I'm guessing your Sunday show is going to be happening?
Yes. So Sunday, 3 o'clock Pacific time, 6 o'clock Eastern. I'll be here, and we're going to make some noise for 3 hours.
Okay, cool. One last question. Han36 Solo, and welcome, Han. How are you? He is asking which Aristocrats song.
Well, I don't know. Hack, is cursing allowed on here? I don't want to disrespect your stream.
Well, you know what? YouTube hates me already, and this will be demonetized already, so I wouldn't sweat it.
Woohoo! Everything I touch gets demonetized. No,
there you go. No, you're not alone.
It is D-Grade Fuck Movie Jam off their latest album. You know what?
There you go.
Killer song. So
there you go. All right. I want to thank everybody. You guys rock. Thanks so much for joining the Hack Show. Keep an eye out on Saturday. I'll be releasing another playing along thing Saturday, 11 a.m. I think it's coming out. Folks, the Live Wires, 9 p.m. Monday. If you are not subscribed to the Live Wires channel, please do. If my mods will throw up the link, that would be awesome. We had a great show last Monday. We got an even better show coming up this Monday. Check out this show. It is a ton of laughs. It is fun. Put a lot of work into it. My 2 partners in crime, they put a lot into that show. There's another channel that should be way up there. So check out the Live Wires Monday night at 9. 1 week from today, you will have another Hack Show. Guess to be determined. All right, folks. Thanks all so much for joining. Thank you, Jimmy, and hang on for a second, by the way. Thanks so much for being on. You guys rock. Have a great rest of your week. Have a fantastic weekend. And we'll see you Monday night. All right. Cheers, everybody. Take care.
Laters.